All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Emily Kaiser and I'm the communications manager here at the Washtenaw County Road Commission. And we appreciate you joining us for this lunchtime meeting about the Geddes Road Bridge replacement project that we have planned for this construction season. You can go to the next slide, Nate. So I'm going to just go over some brief housekeeping items before I turn it over to Nate Murphy, who is the project manager, and we'll provide his contact information shortly. And then we will open it up to questions and answers after that. You can go to the next slide, Nate. So as I mentioned, Nate Murphy is going to be one of our presenters today, and he is a project manager and bridge engineer for the Road Commission. You can find his contact information right here. We'll share it a couple different times throughout the presentation, and I'll also show you how you can find it on our website as well. But he'll be the main point of contact if you've got questions about the project during construction. And then we also have Aaron Burkholtz will be presenting today. And so he is our senior project manager for design and construction. You can go to the next slide, Nate. And we've got Aaron's contact information here. Again, Aaron and Nate can be your contacts if you've got questions throughout the project. Go ahead, Nate. So just a couple housekeeping items. So the meeting audio and video is being recorded right now, and it will be posted to wcroads.org, hopefully this afternoon if I can get to it, or tomorrow. You'll be asked to virtually raise your hand during the Q&A period, and I'll provide instructions at that time on how you can virtually raise your hand either through your computer or your smartphone if you're joining us that way, or through your touch-tone phone if you are calling into this meeting. And lastly, we do have chat enabled. So if you are joining us from your computer or smartphone and you'd prefer to ask your question or make a comment in chat, you can do that and I will monitor it, and then we will answer those questions in the Q&A period as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Nate and Aaron.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Nate Murphy and I'm the project manager for this bridge replacement. We have a very narrow portion of Geddes Road here, just west of Ridge Road. And the bridge is very narrow for the roadway and the ADT, the number of cars that goes through here, the amount of traffic that traverses this portion of Geddes Road. And we have applied for funding through the MDOT LAP bridge program back in 2018 to provide funding for this. There is a funding split. It provides federal dollars that it funds the project at 95% of the total, and the last 5% would be our local match. So 95% of it is a federally funded project. This, as I mentioned, this part of Geddes Road is heavily traveled. It has approximately 10,000 vehicles per day that run through this section of Geddes. And you can see in this picture how it necks down. Get my pointer. There is no shoulder as you enter and cross over the bridge. Either side, you barely have enough room to get the paint on there. And so as a way of getting the geometrics updated, it required a bridge replacement, not to mention the go to the next slide, sorry. The existing bridge is 93 years old. It has concrete T-beams, and it is reaching the end of its service life. The funding for the MDOT project is to upgrade this bridge and would provide a design that will last for many years in the future. Our design for this includes the upgrade, and you can see there's a horizontal curve is what we call it as you enter and you turning through this portion of Geddes Road. And we will be upgrading that horizontal curve to meet current geometric standards. That includes the cross slope. So as you come around the corner, we will provide the proper cross slope for the diameter of the curve. That makes for a safer travel for the public. As you come through there, you can liken it to the raceway where you have a banked curve. It's similar to that. It'll have approximately 5% cross slope as you go through that area. The cost of the bridge will be approximately $1 million. And again, that is 95% funded by federal monies. And we will be replacing the structure with a concrete box structure. This is a elevation. If you were standing down in the stream and looking at the side of the road of the bridge, it will have a precast concrete section that will be set in, and I'll show you further pictures on how that works. But all of this section of the all these pieces of the bridge are built off-site and trucked in and placed onto the location with a crane. It aids with the speed of construction and makes for a better product. Again, here is a cross section of the road. As I mentioned, you can see here, if you're looking in the easterly direction, the slope will be going up at 5%. That gives you a safer curve for traveling through that area. And then below that, you can see again in the tan there, that's all the precast elements that will be brought in and set in place. We did a similar project to this last year over on Miller Road, and we're able to visit the site, the plant that we're making the elements for the box culvert. It was a very interesting site visit. We got to see the pieces that were actually being made for our project. Here's some of our staff walking through their yard. And what happens, after they fabricate it in the yard, they send it on trucks out to the site, and with a large crane, they place them in segments down into the hole, and they're put together and connected together, creating the opening for the stream to run through. In addition, we also have precast concrete head walls that will go on. You can see this one's being lifted on right here. They set them onto the end of the box, and it's all bolted together. Here's a picture of them once they have both been placed onto the box. And then after the precasts are in, they pour an apron, we call it, to reduce the amount of scour. So as the water is running through the culvert, it tends to want to wash out at the entrances. So we put these aprons in to provide a protection for the soil underneath there. So that will be placed in the next stage. And then we have precast wing walls that will go on. This is that bridge over on Miller that we placed this last year. And it is very similar in size and look of what we'll be doing here in the Geddes location. The precast wing walls have been placed here along with the stone, the riprap on the outside of the walls. So I just want to talk a minute about timeline. This project is subject to the EGLE requirements for being in the stream. We do have a contract awarded to E.T. McKenzie. They're out of Ann Arbor, our contractor that will be constructing this. And the construction will begin in mid-June with the closure of the structure. And EGLE, the environmental requirements limit us to being in the stream until after July 1. So that's when we will begin setting up. We'll be in there mid-June to begin the project. And we have a completion date of around the end of October. As I mentioned, we did have these environmental considerations that we had to follow. The trees have to be removed in time for bat roosting so that we don't impact any of the protected species there as well. So we will be out there in March just to get the trees down. That should not impede traffic, but for maybe a day or two. But the real closure will begin in mid-June. We do have some ongoing utility relocations as well. You might see some vehicles out there from DTE and AT&T. They have some overhead lines that are along the north side of the bridge. We'll be relocating those to get them out of the way so that we can bring in the crane and set the pieces that we need. I wanted to show this one, impacts to traffic. As I mentioned, there is approximately 10,000 vehicles on this road, and I'd like to just use some Jedi mind tricks and say there will be no impacts to traffic. We know better than that. We know it impacts you deeply, and we are conscious of that. We want to be considerate of that. We do have a project that we need to get done, so it does require the closure, and we have a detour signed that will be signed to run around the project. This is the hard pavement route that we will be signing from Geddes to Prospect, East Clark, and around to Ridge. We will have closures either side of the bridge itself. That will be a hard closure, we call it, which means there will be no ability to get through there driving or walking. And we would like to highlight that and let you know. We've had on this slide, I wanted to show you, this was actually the crane that we were setting last year's bridge with, the precast elements, and it's very exciting. It brings people out to see it, and but there was some that were too close, and it was not a safe place to be. So we would like to let you know that we really, that area needs to be closed off. The closure is to protect health and safety and welfare of the public, as well as the workers that are in the area. If they have to be working around pedestrians, it causes a safety issue. So we ask that you honor that and stay well out of our work area. We also have had issues with people coming into the work area and damaging the work that we were doing. This caused a good amount of money to tear out the concrete that had been placed. Someone had driven onto it when it was still green and caused a delay in the project and an additional cost. I mean, to rip out brand new concrete, it's a terrible thing. So just to let you know about those closures. We do provide public notice. We have electronic message boards that we use to alert the public and to let everyone know what's going on. And we try our best to provide updates and information for the public to have the latest and the most up-to-date information for these. And as a reminder, pedestrians should be staying out of the work zone, as well as bicyclists. We've had some in the past where they actually will just carry their bike through the middle of it, walk along the steel that is our cofferdam, and it can be a very dangerous thing. So we truly ask that you stay well out of our work zone. Project coordination, we do have some projects that will be going concurrent, at least in this construction year. Mostly of note is this portion of Geddes that we will be doing mill and overlay, a pulverize and overlay, I'm sorry. And that will be scheduled for late April. And we hope that it will not, intersect with the bridge road closure. Here's our bridge here in the green dot. So that would be the most, as I said, this one will begin middle to late June for the bridge work, and so they won't overlap, just so that you're aware of other projects that are going on this year. It's shown here, and you can see this map on our website. And I think with that, here's my contact information. If you need anything or would like further information, I'm happy to help you in any way I can. And we'll look forward to working through anything that you have. So if Aaron, if you have anything else that you'd like to add, let me know.
Certainly, I appreciate that, Nate. And again, my name is Aaron Burkholtz. I work with Nate here in the engineering department. Nate is going to be the primary point of contact for this bridge project. I'm the engineer of record. So as Nate mentioned, the replacement of the Geddes Road Bridge is being afforded to us through the use of federal dollars. As such, I'm listed as the engineer of record with the Michigan Department of Transportation. But again, by and large, Nate will be the lead for the Road Commission on this bridge replacement project. I am always there to assist Nate or to respond to any questions any of you might have. A couple of items I'll touch on. Nate had discussed previous that the existing bridge structure is 93 years old. And you might have noticed in the picture, it even in its current condition, credit to the workmanship of those that built this bridge nearly a century ago. It is not structurally deficient. Many of our bridge replacement projects, the bridge being replaced will have a weight limitation on it. This bridge does not. And again, credit to those that built this bridge. It's a massive structure. There's a great deal of concrete in this structure. But unfortunately, as the area grew, as traffic volumes increased, and as safety standards advanced, this bridge became functionally obsolete. That's the term we use for a bridge like this. And that relates to what Nate talked about earlier. That the shoulders are too narrow for those of you that travel this road. Certainly you notice how close the concrete barrier walls on the outside of the bridge, how close they are to the edge line of the road. We talk about, when we discuss barrier wall and guardrail, we talk about a term shy distance. And that's the distance that's offset between the edge of the traveled way and the face of a barrier wall or the face of a guardrail, because motorists need to feel comfortable and be not stressed when they're driving a segment of county road. And with the barrier wall and the guardrail being so close, that certainly can cause some stress. Another area of the county where this is very pronounced, some of you might be familiar with it, is the railroad viaduct in Dexter would be an example of this, whereby you can drive two vehicles through the railroad viaduct, but you have to go awfully slow and you have to be very confident in your driving abilities. So again, this bridge is being replaced primarily because it's functionally obsolete. The federal dollars that are used are granted to us through the MDOT bridge program. And as we're using those dollars, a lot of the design work that goes into a new bridge is dictated by Federal Highway and by the Michigan Department of Transportation. And again, that would relate to things like the width of the new bridge, what's required at a minimum to achieve that design width. The current design of adjacent barrier wall and guardrail, current design standards have to be met for those. And then the new bridge will accommodate full highway loading. So again, there's no weight restriction on the existing bridge, and there won't be a weight restriction on the new bridge. Through the use of the federal dollars, the project is bid through the Michigan Department of Transportation. There's an agreement in place between the Road Commission and MDOT that basically spells out us administering, the Road Commission administering the project on behalf of MDOT. And then it talks about the funding split that Nate mentioned, the 95% funding split. The actual contract work, the construction work that's performed, in this case by E.T. McKenzie out of Ann Arbor, is based on a contract between the Michigan Department of Transportation and E.T. McKenzie. And again, we're there to administer the project on behalf of MDOT. The last thing I'll mention is Nate brought up the detour here. And when we consider a bridge closure, we look at the nearest available reasonable route. And in this case, we're detouring traffic from a hard surface, a paved road. So we need to find the most nearby paved road that would be similar in character to the road that's being closed. In this case, it's going to be Prospect to Clark Road to Ridge Road. It is not lost on us that there are some intermediate roads that some motorists may choose to travel. That would include MacArthur Road, Wired Boulevard, and North Harris Road. Those roads are classified as primary county roads. As such, they are open to the motoring public. We cannot unreasonably restrict the use of those roads by the motoring public, but we oftentimes will get concerns from area residents about volumes or speed of traffic using an unposted alternate detour route. In those cases, really it becomes an enforcement issue. If the motorists that are electing to use a different route are using that alternate route in an unsafe manner, we can certainly communicate those concerns to the sheriff's office. And the sheriff's office has been a valued partner to the road commission on many past projects, but also we need to recognize that the sheriff's office, the resources are limited. So we frequently work with the sheriff when concerns arise, but again, unfortunately, we cannot unreasonably restrict the use of those county roads to the motoring public. There are instances in the past where residents will request that we close the road, and again, we simply can't do that. The roads are open to the motoring public, but again, we are here to listen to concerns and do our best to work with the sheriff's office to see if some remedy can be achieved. So just a few notes from myself following up on Nate's presentation, and we're very much looking forward to starting this project and replacing this bridge. So we very much appreciate everyone attending today. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Nate, if you want to advance to the Q&A part, we will start answering some of these questions. We've got some good questions coming in through chat, but let me give you some instructions if you want to go to the next slide, Nate. If you'd like to make a verbal question, or if you'd like to ask your question verbally, or again, you can do it in chat. But if you're joining us from your computer or smartphone, to raise your hand, you're going to first have to click participants at the bottom of your screen, and then the raise hand button should show up. If you're joining us from your touch tone phone, you just need to dial *9, and that will virtually raise your hand. If anybody raises their hand, I will unmute them and ask them one at a time to ask their question, and then we'll go from there. So while people are sorting that out, Nate, let's start with some of the chat questions that are coming in. The first one is, and I can answer this one, is will there be periodic updates on the project on our website or through Zoom? So yes, there will be periodic updates. We had somebody also ask, will we be posting the slides from this meeting as well? And yes to both. So on the project page, which I'll include a link, there's a link early in the chat, but I'll include another one. On our project webpage within wcroads.org, we have a page dedicated just to this work, and we will post on that page the slides from this meeting, the meeting recording, FAQs, the link to the detour map, along with periodic project updates. And so every week or two, depending on what's going on the construction area, we'll post a project update to that webpage. We will also email out project updates to anybody who's subscribed. So you can subscribe to receive those project updates right on that project page within the wcroads.org website. So I'll include a link after we get through a few more of these questions, but it's all going to be right there. And I should have the slides and meeting recording posted either this afternoon or tomorrow. So those were our first two questions. We also have a question, Nate, of how many trees are going to be cut down in March for this project?
The tree removal is limited to right around where the existing bridge is. I think there might be half a dozen of them. And these are necessary to be removed in order to get the equipment in to do the work that we have to do. So there's only a few that would be right where that existing bridge is.
Okay, thanks, Nate. So this next one, this is a great question about construction. So I don't know if Nate or Burke wants to do this one, but is there any potential that there could be something found that could cause an extension to the timeline projection?
Always, yes. Every construction project, whether you're working in your kitchen to replace a faucet, all the way down to a bridge replacement, there's always the chance of the unknown. We can't really, we do our best to estimate the times, and we feel pretty confident that what we have is reasonable. But that does always, there is that caveat that there could be the unknown, and we hope that there will be a smooth schedule, but yes, that is always potential.
And I'll say that, anytime we put a shovel in the ground, we do our best working with utility owners to identify as many underground utilities as we can. The overhead utilities are fairly easy because you can see those, but underground, sometimes in the past, the records that were kept were not terribly accurate, if records were kept at all. But we do work, and Nate has been working for quite some time now with utility owners to identify as many underground utilities as we can. You may have seen, if you drive this route, that there's been some recent tree cutting performed out there. That has been performed by Detroit Edison, by DTE, in order to allow the relocation of their overhead line that's on the north side of Geddes Road, near the bridge. And again, that's to accommodate bridge construction. They're going to be installing some new poles there to move those overhead lines. Those lines include both DTE overhead and AT&T overhead. So there has been some activity already on the job site, and there will continue to be. And as far as the timeline, again, we do our best working with our contractor to reasonably estimate that timeline. But there can be situations that arise where it's just unexpected challenge that comes up. One thing we have to deal with every year, being residents and being employees here in the state of Michigan, is this is a seasonal construction state. So we have to be mindful of the fact that there are certain materials, there are certain construction operations that can only reasonably be performed during part of our calendar year. And most notably, that would be asphalt paving. The asphalt paving plants generally open in mid-April. And again, they generally close in mid to late November. So that's something we do have to keep in mind with our projects. And that's one of the reasons that we have so many projects ongoing concurrently. Even in this part of the county, Nate mentioned the adjacent work that's going to be performed, the pulverization and the HMA overlay on Geddes Road between Dixboro Road and Superior Road. We have to take advantage of the construction season that's allowed by Mother Nature, and therefore we will have a lot of work going throughout the county, including this bridge replacement.
Okay, thanks, guys. So we do have a question. Somebody has virtually raised their hand. So we're going to go to that, and then we will keep working through the questions that come through the chat as well. So let's see. Jay Babcock, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you go. Yes. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Nate and Aaron, for the information. This is good, and it's great that we're getting way ahead of the game with sharing this information to the community. I'm on today representing South Point Scholars, the school that's kind of like right down the street from where this bridge is. And I just had a couple of questions. And I think some of this will get answered probably a little bit later as we get closer to the project. But you mentioned that there's a mid-June start date. I would respectfully request, mid-June is about the last day of school for us. Specifically, it's June 11th. Is our last day of school at South Point. So obviously that's aligned in that mid-June, and I'm hoping that mid-June means after June 11th. So I guess that's my first request. And as we get closer to this, we have in the neighborhood of 800 enrolled students at that school. So obviously, of that 10,000, those cars that are crossing that bridge, a good number of them are, our parents dropping kids off and picking them up in the afternoon. So I'd be curious if, as we get closer to this, that we could work a little close. I just want to be able to provide our parents some good recommendations on travel to and from the school that's going to, make it as efficient as we can. So.
Yes, absolutely. I can certainly be in touch with you as we get closer to give you that update. We do have the limitation to being in the stream until after July 1. So the contractor is only going to be setting up to prepare for that. And hopefully will not overlap with your June 11th date.
Perfect.
And is it Jay? Is that your name?
I'm sorry, it's John.
John. Okay. And
yes.
John, if you want to, you can either, we've got Nate's contact information on the, he'll show that slide shortly. It's also on the website. If you want to reach out to Nate, or you can just, if you want to message me as the host, I can share that with Nate after the meeting.
Sure.
But we can certainly talk with you further. Did you have another question?
I think I had questions about start and end date, but you guys already answered that. And just, of course, thinking down the road, obviously the bulk of our communication will be to parents for the new school year. As we get toward the end of August, beginning of September, that's when we're going to be really impacted by this project. So just
understood. Okay.
Too.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's go back to some of these questions in chat. So Rick is asking, how long will this new bridge structure last? We're replacing a 93-year-old bridge. What's the time frame, or what's the timeline for this new one?
I would say very similar. I would hope that it would last, up until about that. It's a box structure. It has a lot of redundancy in it, meaning that it can support the loads in a very efficient way. And as being constructed or fabricated in a controlled environment, rather than being out in the field and subject to whatever is going on at the location, these are built and are poured and fabricated in a shop at the precaster's yard. And they have a very well-oiled machine, as it were, to get these things fabricated in high quality, and which, getting the placement of the reinforcement in the inside of the box in the right location has a lot to do with its longevity. You protect that, it keeps it from rusting. It makes for a much more robust structure. So my hope is that it would last at least that long.
Okay. And I do want to note too, as we're talking about history here, I know that this road is often called Geddes Road in Washtenaw County, but I learned this week as we were preparing for this meeting that it's actually pronounced Geddes by the Geddes family. So that's why you'll hear us say Geddes versus Geddes. It's all the same road, but just fun fact there. All right. So Shannon asked Nate, how much wider from the current bridge will the new one be?
Okay, so the existing bridge has two 11-foot lanes, and then that picture that I'd shown earlier, the paint for the lane is right up next to the edge of the concrete barrier. We are going to two 12-foot lanes that have then an 8-foot shoulder on either side. So the shoulder's width is dictated by the amount of traffic that goes through there and the geometrics of that roadway. So in this case, we went with the 8-foot shoulder. That will make it feel much more open, and you probably won't even notice that you're going over a bridge. Honestly, it'll feel much better.
So Nate, it looks like on this that it's 51 feet wide, right? Is that fair? 40
feet is the clear roadway.
Okay.
You can see here.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm not an engineer.
So we have 8-foot shoulders on either side, and then two 12-foot lanes.
And do you know what the existing bridge is?
I believe it's around 22 feet clear roadway.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. So our next question is from Michael. He says, one, as a local resident, he's very excited for the bridge, which is great. And that he agrees with the stress going onto the bridge with it being narrower right now. His question is what traffic considerations are being made specifically at the blinker at Clark and Ridge? Left-hand turn onto Clark for PM rush, and then right left turn light at Prospect and Geddes for AM. What are the plans to try to deal with those signals as traffic is settling itself into this closure?
And I'll say thank you for the question. It's a very good question. We're fortunate that following this detour, if we're coming from the west and coming eastbound, we have the signal light, the traffic signal at Prospect and Geddes. And then we have also the traffic signal at Prospect and East Clark. Those signals, we can work with our traffic and safety group to adjust the timing on those signals to allow for the increased traffic volumes. Because certainly during that, in particular, that PM rush, there's going to be higher than typical traffic volumes using that route. So we can work with our traffic and safety group, our signal technicians to look at the timing of those. And then we're fortunate that we have a roundabout over at Ridge and Geddes, because roundabouts, one of the advantages of them is that it allows for greater traffic volumes. It efficiently moves that traffic. So we're fortunate to have that roundabout adjacent to the school. The tough intersection is going to be Clark and Ridge. And as you noted, right now there's just a flasher there. The stop control is on Clark Road. And so we're going to have to, again, discuss the situation with our traffic and safety staff to see what might be able to be accommodated there to better facilitate a heavier PM movement as traffic comes down Clark Road eastbound and wants to turn left and go northbound on Ridge Road. So again, a very pertinent question and something that we will be following up on.
And I want to note too, Michael, because it is always challenging the first couple days of a closure as people are getting used to it. So that's something that we can adjust and monitor. So we just ask for patience, especially the first few days as the closure begins, to tweak those signals and to do what we can. We can't do Jedi mind tricks. I wish we could. There will be an impact to traffic. We know that. But we just, those first couple of days are usually the most chaotic because everybody's kind of figuring out what to do, and we're monitoring things and trying to make adjustments as we can. So it certainly can be adjusted in the ways that we can, as Aaron mentioned. So, okay, so next question. So this is from Rick, and he asked about the project updates. Just wanted to clarify. Sorry, Rick, for the confusion. So one, we will post all the meeting recording, all the stuff that you're seeing today. We will post that tomorrow or today or tomorrow. After that, we will post periodic project updates with, what's going on the bridge, when they've placed the bridge, when paving starts. We do I try to keep them entertaining, updates throughout the project. So from the start in June, prior to the closure, we will put out information on that website. And if you subscribe to receive email updates, and then throughout construction until the bridge is reopened in hopefully October. So we will do updates throughout the project. This is one of our major ones. So we provide those updates throughout the duration. So here's another question from Michael, and he asked, what rebeautification efforts will be implemented at the bridge post-construction? So maybe, I guess, what will the bridge look like? Will there be other things added after the bridge is done? Any area that we are disturbing during the construction of the project will be reseeded. So we will put the topsoil down, and we'll add some we'll seed over that, and a mulch blanket, which is just a straw layer, to make sure that the grass grows in nice. That is a performance-based item in our contract, where the contractor is required to make sure it gets to a certain level. And so, once the seed is popped and we have a nice coverage, then that's when we issue payment for that. So we do monitor that and make sure that everything's going back in and it looks nice. This isn't really rebeautification, but part of the finishing part of the project, Nate, is going to be guardrail, pavement markings, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Another question here is, how many contractors bid for this project, and why was the current one selected? Were they the lowest bid?
So this project was, as I mentioned, part of the MDOT LAP, which is the local agency program. And the project is actually, they call it LET through that, which provides opportunity for all the contractors that want to to get the plans and to provide a quote for that work. We did have a good number of companies that did quote on this, some of the bigger companies in the area. And we did have a very good return on our estimate. What we estimated was the cost of the project. We did come in below that, which was a good sign. So we did have a good amount of interest. We did this project kind of in tandem with 3 other locations. So we have a bridge replacement down on Dennison Road that we have packaged with this, along with 2 preventative maintenance projects, 2 bridges. It'll be Mast Road over the Huron River and Bridge Road over the Huron River. So we packaged this all together along with the Geddes Bridge so that we could get better pricing, and I do believe that helped us.
And I'll say, in addition to Nate's comments, that we had 4 through the MDOT bid opening. There were 4 contractors that bid this project. E.T. McKenzie submitted the lowest qualified bid. So through the MDOT advertisement and bid, contractors that bid these type of projects, in particular a bridge project like this, they are required to be pre-qualified with MDOT to do that. So, and McKenzie was the low bid. They came in approximately 8% under the engineer's estimate for the overall project. And as Nate mentioned, this particular bid opening and subsequent contract includes 4 Washtenaw County Road Commission bridge projects. Geddes Road is one of those 4. So we've worked with E.T. McKenzie frequently in the past to success on bridge projects. So again, we have confidence we can accomplish yet another bridge improvement with this E.T. McKenzie crew.
Okay, great, thanks. And then Rick also has a question about once the bridge is done, how often are we inspecting bridges? And this is not our only bridge here in Washtenaw County.
So yes, that's a good question. We have 126 bridges in the county that are qualified as bridges. That means being a bridge that is 20 feet and larger. And as such, it requires a certain constant inspection. We do for bridges in good condition, we inspect them every 2 years. And once they get to a certain level of deterioration, then we go to a yearly inspection, and those are looked at by a consultant that we have. And so that goes on at a minimum of every 2 years.
So once this bridge is done, it'll be added to that inspection list every 2 years.
Yes.
And hopefully it'll be in good condition for a very, very long time. So that 2-year cycle.
That is our hope.
Okay, great. So we do have just a comment from Superior Township Fire. Thank you for joining us. And the fire chief just says, thanks. He is excited to have a wider bridge here that will help with the fire trucks. So they appreciate that, which is great. So Michael had just another question about the signals. So he asked, will there be some live monitoring of traffic to then create long-term timing of lights? I'm assuming he's talking about during the construction project. Like, how do we do that? And I got to warn you, Michael, you're talking to 2 bridge engineers. And so we have traffic engineers on staff, but Nate and Burke are not them. So Burke, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, I appreciate you qualifying that, Emily. Yes, I am not a traffic engineer. I do not claim to be, but I'm fortunate to work with some great traffic engineers here at the Road Commission. Just off the cuff, I do not believe we have cameras that would be close enough to these intersection locations for us to remotely monitor the traffic movements. Some intersection locations, particularly in a more urban area, such as the Carpenter Road corridor, we do have cameras at those intersections to assist us with live monitoring of traffic movements and traffic volumes. This part of the county, I would not envision that the signalized intersections here have that type of equipment. So what we will need to do is we will need to monitor it from the time we close the road, and then essentially have staff in the field. The individual who will be on this project, the lead inspector, will be on the job By and large, anytime there is a contractor working on this project, we have an inspector there. He is the eyes and ears for Nate and I, and certainly that would be something else that he can be aware of and pay attention to is as we set that closure up. And then Emily had mentioned, as we allow for traffic to somewhat normalize after that closure, then we can really start to work with our traffic and safety group and with our traffic signal technicians to adjust the timing as we might need to. Sometimes there's a tendency to be reactionary, and after we put a closure up, there's a cry for please change it today or tomorrow, do it right now. But oftentimes there is some normalization within just a couple, 3 days, where traffic motorists find another route based on where they're coming from and where they're going to. They will determine the best route for them. So again, as far as monitoring the traffic, that would be something we would have to do with boots on the ground or through being contacted by area residents or motorists, because we don't have camera equipment, as far as I know, out in this part of the county.
We're going to do it old school style.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So there is a question here from Shannon just about how to subscribe for email updates. Nate, I'm going to take over screen sharing and just show what the project page, since there's been a few questions about this. So let me do this here real quick. So if you go, I included a link in the chat, but if you go to wcroads.org, which is the Road Commission's website, and you'll find this, the page just for Geddes Road, for this bridge. And so you'll see here some just general information. We'll put more details on here as we get closer, but here you'll find where the updates are going to be. We've got the meeting announcement for this meeting that you're all in right there. And that's where we'll place the project updates that we'll put out throughout the project, throughout construction. You've got Nate's contact information here. You've got this helpful links thing here. And then if you find on our page, it looks like I'm missing this button here. So I will fix that as soon as we finish this call. There should be a button right here that says subscribe, and it will take you to this page, subscribe to road updates. I'm going to include a link in the chat because that is my bad as our website manager here. But you can subscribe. You can put your email in here. We do updates on township stuff too. So if you're interested in just road closures happening in Superior Township, road work happening in Superior Township, not project specific, you can sign up to receive them here. And then you can say what type of emails you'd like to receive. And then here's where you can select what type of project you want to receive updates on. So I'm going to include this link. Sorry that it is not on the page, but it will be very shortly. That is my fault there. But that's where you can subscribe to receive those email updates. Okay. Here is the link to subscribe to road updates. Okay, I think those are all of our questions in the chat, Nate. We did have just a thanks from Rick for entertaining all of his questions. His dad was a project engineer, and so he appreciates getting into the detail here, which we love getting into the detail. We are roads people here at the Road Commission. Is there anybody else that would like to virtually raise their hand? You can do that by dialing *9 from your touchtone phone, or you can do that if you're joining us from your computer or smartphone by clicking the participants button at the bottom of your screen and then the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen. Looks like, oh, we do have one question here. So this is a phone number ending in 3848. You should be able to unmute yourself and go ahead. You should get a notice asking if you want to unmute. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Are you guys going to move the creek north? Move it farther away from the road?
Oh, are we? I don't know if you guys could hear that. Are we moving the bridge north in our adjustment? Like, is it as we are straightening out that curve? Is that your question?
So moving it between Godfreyson and the bridge, move it north because it's east away at the.
I'm sorry, sir. It's really hard to hear your, I don't know if we're on speakerphone or what, we can't really hear you that well. Can you repeat your question again? Oh, I think we might have lost him. moving the bridge north is what I heard, guys.
Yeah, and maybe Nate, you can talk a little bit about not only the roadway alignment, but the stream alignment. Like, are we realigning the new bridge based on the characteristics of Fowler Creek? And you've talked a little bit about the geometrics of the road, how we're changing the super elevation and the curve through the new bridge. Maybe you could just touch on that.
Yeah, sure. The road will be wider and it'll be more centered to the north of where the existing center line is. So yes, it will kind of shift to the north slightly, a few feet. And but the alignment of the stream will be very similar to where it is now. That will not change. For that, we are making a little bit wider. The existing one only was around 20 feet and this one will be 23.
Yeah, and again,
Okay.
when you reference wider, Nate, you're talking about the span, the opening of the culvert itself. The
Correct.
existing bridge span between the foundations is approximately 20 feet. And then the new waterway opening will be, what did you say, Nate?
23.
23 feet.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully that person can contact you, Nate, because I think we've lost them. So if they've got more questions, hopefully they can get your contact info. So again, thank you for everybody for joining us. Nate and Aaron, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, just let me know if you have any issues and I'll try to work through those.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.